Admiral. On behalf of the Principes and Patrina, I must request we meet in parley. Eccoci. It has been some time since I last asked another's permission. I have heard some marvelous tales regarding your ventures in the Deerwood. In fact, you are the first dragon slayer I have ever met, outside of a grave. Some fools would seek to make a fortune by pilfering from one such as you.
I take it he is not one of those fools. Perhaps we should listen.
I believe you have met such a fool. Captain Benweth of the Drake. Voxen of Ubilnet Merla. Careful, ship hunter. Mind that you do not confuse a useful skill set for a non-expendable one. My apologies. Rest assured, it will not happen again.
Apologies, Captain. Didn't mean it, really. We're up all night, you know, searching out our friend here. You've been at sea a while. Your mind starts playing tricks on you, aye? Well, mine plays tricks on others, too. Usually don't mean much. Maybe see a bit of shadow, hear a bit of tune. Not unless the person's sensitive. Like, say, a watcher.
This is the first you are hearing of us, truly? We are a magnificent but largely landless people, so we have come to own the sea. To survive, we must seize prosperity where we can. Hence, we're oft labeled as pirates, smugglers, merchants of illicit trade, or mercenaries. It will not always be so, but it is for now. The short-sighted scoundrel has been wreaking havoc in the area for months. He is no son of Velia. I do not fault his ancestry, but he disregards too much the grand heritage we Principi represent. Benweth is the second most selfish captain within the Principi's newest generation. He risks all that we value. Perhaps I have said too much. This is a problem solely of my own, for now. Few pirates retire comfortably, Emika. We sink and we hang or we burn. We must replace our losses, accepting from many regions, including the Deadfire. We are descended from refugees who fled during Old Valia's decline. They sailed the eastern reach to the Deadfire. But they did not settle the islands. Today, even, our shipboard life continues. Benweth is no captain of mine, Imika. It is not beneath my flag his Drake sails. Yet I do seek to temper his actions when they would endanger the Principe altogether. Benweth's Drake took damage during the storm. Eventually, he will need to dock for repairs, and when he does, Seraphin can find him for you. He is rather an unrefined creature, but he is a most skilled ship hunter, I assure you.
Unrefined? Begging your pardon, Captain, but I'd be the fucking model of the Gentleman of Fortune. As for Benweth, that sucker of squid tits be as predictable as the tide. I'd wager all my furriest bits that he'd set sail for Deadlight.
That would be felicitous indeed, as I believe the traitor Remaro hides there as well. I quite enjoy killing two men with a single bullet.
Wouldn't have even thought of it if you hadn't brought it up, sir. Now, I ain't hardly in any hurry to leave the fine company of the Gentlemen of Leisure, but the Captain be right about me finding your mark. Adding to that, you sail into Fort Deadlight not knowing your innies from your outies, you might very well find the locals cannon fucking your boat to sodden splinters. Are you asking aside from my vaunted ship hunting abilities, self-evident manners, and encyclopedic know-how of all things piratical? Well, there'll be me knowing my way around Fort Deadlight, so named on account of it being a fortress and all. I got my contacts inside, and I'll be half handy with a gun if shit goes belly up. Adding to that, I'll be right easy on the eyes, or so the lasses tell me. Oh, you verily wound me, madam.
As you see, Seraphin is both insufferable and marvelously useful.
Oh, you won't be regretting this, Watcher. At least so long as you keep us heavy in grog and light on the onions. Ugh, them dirty shit apples ain't never agreed with me, and I'll be suspecting they never will.
He's not sleeping near my berth, I promise you that much.
I sail now for Dunwich, my own safe port. I will await you there, should you be successful in schooling our wayward captain.
Be right there.
Oh?
Done and done. I'll be chopping you. Oh, I think I can't see you, you sneaky bastard.
Bullseye.
Beyond sick.
Aye, aye.
This thing isn't doing the job. There's a walloping.
My pleasure. them how it's done.
Bravo. You're
Sure.
sick.
Right here. I got this. I got this. Leave it to me.
The ring of a bell comes to you on a cold wind. The ring comes again and again, until soon the air is full with the sound of 1,000 bells ringing all at once. You feel a resonance in your core, a bell ringing in tune with all the others. Something in you bends, then breaks, and you are borne away on the ringing tide, just another peal among the many. The tide of bells recedes. You lever yourself up onto your knees and realize you have been here before. You stand in Bareth's realm. You are alone. And then, you are not. An indistinct figure stands before you, flickering between forms like a fire-cast shadow. A fixed, taunting grin. Bottomless black eyes. A yawning chasm in the earth. The aspects of Bareth, the Usher and the Pallid Knight, shift in and out of focus. And at their back, 4 indistinct shades hover. You feel an eternity stretch out behind each of them, reaching back to places so distant and yet so near you cannot comprehend their size. The shifting image of Bareth settles on the aspect of the Pallid Knight.
Watcher.
Her voice is the discordant clangor of gongs struck out of time.
I tasked you to discover Aethys's intentions. Tell me what you have learned.
The Pallid Knight knits her brows.
He does not seek to return to the Beyond? Intriguing.
Her sickly pale skin pulls tight across the bones of her face, as if the shell of this aspect does not quite fit the impossible creature it contains. The figure nearest Bareth dissolves and reforms in the image of a thin-lipped, ancient crone, whose face has felt the melting kiss of fire. The goddess Wodika strides forward.
Does Aethys frighten you, Bareth? He should. Margron subdued Aethys's influence once before, and yet he returned.
From out of Wodika's shadow shuffles a hunched, bald man you recognize as the god Scan. His skin is mapped with swollen lash scars, and breath whistles through the ragged hole in his face, where his nose once was. He does not speak, but stares up at Boudica, with naked loathing plain on his ruined face. Boudica steeples her long, knob-jointed fingers.
We must annihilate Aethys now, before he makes a rash decision we cannot easily annul. A moon would do the job nicely.
Boudica throws her head back and laughs. The sound is a dry, rasping bark.
Andra could do with a new act. Her current one has grown rather stale.
They see to their own affairs. You will speak to them in time, should you have the need.
The figure beside the aspect of Berith flows forward in a swirling cloud of ash. The ash falls to the tiles and reveals a molten-skinned woman, leaning on a monstrous, wicked-edged broadsword. Magran's glowing lips curl in disdain.
We must find a solution to the problem of Aethys that is neither do nothing, nor destroy the world. I acted in haste during the Saints' War. You will not goad me into doing the same now. To move against him while his plans are unknown would be the height of foolishness. We must find wisdom in precaution.
The pallid knight tilts her head to the side and gives you the long-suffering, narrow-eyed look of a parent dealing with a particularly disappointing child.
No.
Another of the silent figures steps forward, and the warm, golden light of a summer's afternoon spills across your face.
Let's all take a deep, calming breath. Perhaps cooler heads will prevail.
Behind Helia's words, you hear the soft coo of doves.
Aethys has been separated from us for too long. Isn't it possible he intends only to gather enough souls to reclaim his realm in the beyond? He should be welcomed.
You look up then into avian eyes. Through them, you see clouds of starlings converge and divide. Helia puts a feathered hand to her chest.
He wouldn't. Betrayal is not in his nature.
Scan shuffles forward.
Yes, yes. We should welcome Aethys' return to the fold. His gratitude we can leverage to cajole him into divulging his plot. Then, when he believes himself to be in our good graces, we do as Boudica suggests, and crush him into the earth.
Scan pauses, inspecting you.
Ah, and here is the Watcher who killed Lord Harren, the man who tormented his dear niece, Alice. Curious.
Scan licks the ragged edge of his lipless mouth and grins, then turns to Helia.
I did not expect such a deliciously ruthless idea from you, Helia. I am impressed.
Helia's feathered crest stands on end.
You wretched little creature.
The pallid knight gestures for silence.
Aethys cannot be killed, but he may be subdued. Yet to do so will take immense power and time. Both stand in his favor.
Magran grits her black glass teeth.
That is why we must ascertain his plans before he has the chance to put them into motion.
She begins to pace. Her steps leave little trails of fire in her wake. Magran stops and balls her hands into flaming fists.
Even if we manage to destroy his current form, there is the possibility he could return. If he has not already absorbed all of his children.
The pallid night casts a cold, cutting glare in Magran's direction.
Magran speaks too freely. That knowledge is beyond your ken, Watcher.
Worika waves the gods to silence.
Aethys gathers strength. His strength is a threat to us.
Her voice takes on a sharp, almost panicked edge.
There is no sensible answer to the question of a resurgent Aethys other than decisive, final action.
Your opinion is unasked for, but noted. We will act when it is appropriate to do so, and not before.
The pallid night steps away from the half-circle of assembled gods. She pulls herself up to a great height. The words she speaks next come not from her mouth, but from all around you.
Follow him, Watcher.
The black of the pallid night's irises expand until her eyes are as dark and cold as the void between stars. She bends down and brings her ghostly face level with your own.
Your debt to me remains unpaid.
She stares at you, unblinking. Like a needle drawn to a magnet, you are pulled toward her one compulsory step at a time. Helpless to resist, you tumble into her impossible eyes. You fall wildly, endlessly, unable to find your bearings or slow your spin. And in the distance, above, no, behind you, comes an insistent ringing. You angle yourself toward it, searching for the sound. A small silver bell appears just inches from your fingertips. You reach for it, straining to still its interminable ringing. The moment you touch it, your soul slams into your body with all the force of a fall from the top of the sky. You blink open your eyes and find yourself on the floor of your ship's cabin, alone.
Give me a real challenge.
Ship life sure is an adventure, ain't it? Just think of all the places we can sail to, all the sights we could see. This is nothing like being stuck on a farm, or cloistered in the back of a temple. Tell me what's on your mind? They're there in my head when I sleep. And sometimes I can taste them on the back of my tongue like a smear of grit. Happens when I take in a particularly volatile soul. Go madder than I already am? I don't rightly know. It's not like I can turn my back on my duty to my god, even if it kills me. My folks, you might say they're not your typical Aethasians. Sure, they cling to the light more than the darkness. But the war, it touched my family. And it changed them. Killed some. Not that I remember firsthand. The others toughened, turned survivors. That much I saw with my own eyes, even years later. My aunt's the one who taught me about the cycle of life and death, how everything happens in stages. Whether forwards or backwards, from seed to rot to rebirth again, it's all just states of existence and balance, see? That's how I first learned about the slice of Gone within Aethys. After that, I read all the doctrines of Gone, anything and everything I could get my hands on. The 12 books of Nearwith, plus the epistles from the minor prophets. A lot of them aren't a part of today's canonization, but that doesn't mean they're wrong. It's tradition for the youngest born to take up the priesthood of Aethys. Well, I did it in my own way. Of course, though we're few and spread out. Most don't keep to temples. Soul shepherding requires travel. Mostly I learned through reading. Any text pertaining to Gone I could get my grubby hands on. I guess it's the nature of light to want to best the darkness. But you can't have balance like that. And it's not like night and death are bad things. Oh, no use in fearing what's natural. Life isn't one long line. It's cyclical. You gotta shed the old to become the new. No need to fiddle-foot around. I'm listening. We talking during the Saints' War or after he died? I really only know what my folks taught me. Aethys embodied Saint Widwin, but during the war, he got blown to bits. That's the thing about human bodies. Eventually, they all gotta die. As the god of rebirth, of course, Aethys would be coming back. But where I differ from my family's view, and my High Priestess's view, is that I've studied the apotheosis of Gone. And I know all about the backside, the downward swoop, the death part of the cycle of life. Obsidian, rot, regrowth. What's gone can never be again. What comes back is changed. Always. Even if what comes back is a god. Then you mean Gone? Sure, maybe my god still answers to Aethys as well. Why not? But Aethys died, and death requires change. He ain't what he was. Not in exactly the same way. That's why I think his other aspect, his darkness in the light, is what's burning brighter in him now. No need to fiddle-foot around. I'm listening. You need me, I'll be 2 whoops and a holler away.
Thank you again for maintaining my story in front of Vanessa and the others. I didn't enjoy deceiving them, but it seemed simpler than the alternative. I realized there could be nothing between us. But it was nice to have a friend all the same. You stood with me through more than anyone I've ever known. But a lot has happened over the last 5 years. After we parted, I set out to destroy the Leaden Key. It's controlled us for too long. I wanted to free Kith from it. So for 5 years, I've been tracking down Leaden Key circles, searching for the places where they operate in secret, trying to undo them. The task has been more difficult than I anticipated. I don't think I fully understood the weight of the decisions I would have to make, or the burden of living with them. It was much easier when I only had to follow someone else's lead. My father's, Theos's, yours. I wish I knew. After we defeated Theos, I thought the hard part of undoing his work would be tracking down the Leaden Key's members and operations. Perhaps this would be easier with an example. I went to a village in Old Valia, a run-down backwater of a place. Aye, right home like it was. Centuries ago, the Leaden Key had intervened to end some heretical cult. The details were lost, but what had endured was a practice of ritual bloodletting. A gruesome, pointless tradition. At every full moon, the villagers would feed the soil with their blood. No one, young or old, sick or hale, was exempt. That's where it gets complicated. The village priest administered the practice. Grim old fellow. Reminded me of Theos.
Wicked old bunbag, 'tis what the lad means.
He was a tyrant. I was certain that if the villagers were free of his influence, they'd be free from the bloodletting too. So I arranged for him to have an accident. The old man died, and the villagers were terrified. They were convinced his death was an ill omen. They blamed it, and every other mishap that befell them, on their lack of faith. So they began bloodletting every week, turning on their neighbors for giving too little. Instead of a handful dying each year, a few perished every week. I had to do something, didn't I? I keep wondering what I might have done differently, or how I could have known better. I suppose so. I should get some rest. It's been a long day, and you've given me a lot to think about. Ah, that. I'm looking for an old Leaden Key sect. I've found several references, but I want to be sure. Please, let me go over my notes again. Then I promise I'll tell you everything. You know me too well. All the same, I need to gather my thoughts.
Hey, this brings back some memories, huh? The air's different. Especially compared to Gilded Vale, where there's more livestock than shovels. Sounds different, too. You wake up to all those bird calls, it really does sound like they're making music. If the birds woke you in Gilded Vale, it was usually a couple crows making the most horrible mating noises you ever heard. Strange thing is, I still get this feeling in me, like I wish I was home. I like that feeling, knowing we'd stopped Theos. We were part of something big. That was something I never felt before, not even at war. Guess I went looking for it again. Not that I wanted to tangle with gods, but something smaller. Something I thought I could manage. There was that little town, Deerford, we passed through. Got hit real hard by the legacy. I went in and asked their mayor if I could help, and he was real friendly. But then it turned out he was in that Scanite cult they have over there. And when I wasn't looking, he tried to knock me out with a garden hoe. Guess he wanted to drain my blood or gouge out my eyes with rocks or whatever it is they do. Didn't ask. Anyway, I came out of his house carrying his head and well, I got to be mayor after that. They didn't even want to do an election. I said, if you're sure, and they all nodded, kinda quick-like. Some of it I was good at, welcoming people, getting them to settle there, keeping order. But there were other things I had no head for. Negotiating, settling arguments, saying the right things. I think I made a difference, but plenty of folks got hurt along the way. And I don't know if that was something we could have avoided, or if it was the cost of trying to fix things. If you like. I want the destruction to stop. I want him to finish what he's doing and then go in peace. Only I don't see it playing out that way.
If you told me a few years ago that I'd end up following you on another crazy errand, I'd have said you were out of your mind. Not because I got anything against you, more that trouble seems to come looking for you wherever you go. Yet, here we are again, probably on our way to die. Well, you already did, but me, I mean. Hey, I'm here, ain't I? Could have taken one look at that big footprint and decided on a nice long vacation in Raid Saris. And wouldn't you know it, this time is shaping up to be crazier than the last one. But I gotta say, I appreciate how you've handled things. Times like these, staying decent's not as easy as it sounds. Thought you were weird at first, of course, but you've surprised me. And there's something to that. I like to think I'm the same way. Except I chose to believe in the goodness of a giant statue that kills everything it passes. Sometimes I have second thoughts about that. I've been meaning to ask, though. How is it you never seem to lose your way through all this? What is it tells you you're on the right path? Why didn't I think of that? Could have saved myself some trouble. When I was a boy, things were simpler. Aethys was more like a character we read about in church. Now, just about anything would be at this point. Now, most stories had him helping folks or making the world work as it should. You pray to him, he might help you too. There was no cost to it. No confusion about his will or followers taken into extremes. Following Aethys was right. Had no reason to question. Do you think there's any way that following him could still be the right path? After all we've seen? I suppose that's true. Not really a point in Aethys' favor, though. Anyway, I didn't mean for this to get depressing. I think this was just a long way of saying, I appreciate the way you've guided things. Makes me feel like I'm doing some good, going with you.
I must say, our adventures together have been a welcome change of pace. When we first met in the Deerwood, you were struggling for your sanity. Now you're fighting for your soul. I can't imagine the weight of that burden. And yet you've borne it, and more remarkably. That's precisely what I mean. The gods have sent you after Aethys, and every power of note in Deadfire has their own plans for you. That puts you in a position of incredible influence. I've known you to be a person of strong principles. Still, I'm pleased to see that you don't take your responsibilities lightly. If only more people thought as you do. I hope you'll remember this in the days to come.
Seems fair.
We had some good times. some help here.
Not my best moment.
Teach you a lesson.
There's something you don't see.
I think that's beyond me.
Sure.
Not alone.
Be right there. I'll teach you a lesson.
Zoom.
Get us!
Show them how it's done. Absolutely.
This is futile!
That looks like it hurt. Of course.
Almost inconvenient.
Not exactly what I was going for. I got this. Mm-hmm. Leave it to me. I'll teach you. Now that never happens.
Say your prayer!
Love,
My friend.
Oh no!
Yeah. There's no other. Can't make it.
I hear you.
Get threshed!
Love,
I got
you're
this.
sick.
Right here. Hey there. Leave it to me. Right here.
One of my eyes
Be right there.
open.
Wait, look there.
Consider it done.
Right,
done.
fucked.
I'll just have to try something
Not
else.
sure I can.
That's not what I was expecting.
Lava.
Beyond the secret. Give me your challenge.
I'll see what I can find.
Trouble up ahead.
I'll be slicing that still. I'll see you.
Gotta have something here. Let's wash that down with an antidote.
Lava.
Can't whack him any harder!
Absolutely. There's something you don't see every day. Sure.
Right.
Hey there. Be right there.
That's meat. Oh, man.
Hey there. I got this. I got this. Right here. Consider it. Leave it to me. What do we have here? Hey there. Mm-hmm. Sure.
It's a fine three-master.
You're far from home, farmer. How did you make it all this way in your little boat?
Why do we gotta be farmers just because we're from Deerwood?
Are you a farmer?
Yeah, but you can't just assume. We got rabble-rousers, too.
I'm the harbor master, Kauha. I must ask your reason for docking in Neketaka. Yes, you do. You can't dock a ship in the harbor and have your run of Queen's Birth without giving me a good reason for docking here.
Show them. Show them what you are. Yes. Yes. That's it.
What's the matter? with you? What are you doing? If you're trying to scare us with some cipher mischief, save the purple flames for the tribes of the Outer Islands.
Now.
What? What is this?
Run for it!
I think I got a ghost up my nose there. That's better.